Now moving on, as the Independent National Electoral Commission is still collating and announcing results from across the 21 local government areas in Kogi State, a chieftain in the All Progressives Congress has urged them to sustain the credibility record they have shown in the polling units. According to the chieftain, most electoral malpractices do not happen at the polling unit level, rather from the ward, local government and state collation levels, which is where the final result will be announced. While commending the electoral umpire for making a remarkable shift in the election, he expressed dissatisfaction that security agencies on election duty on the roads prevented some electorates from having access to their wards and polling units because of the curfew. He suggested that in future elections, those with their permanent voter cards should be allowed to move and not stopped by security operatives mounting roadblocks.
The beginning process, which is the voting, was well done today. If they also do the same thing, so to the completion of the process, I would say yes, they would have done well. But for now, for this process that we saw in the morning, that is casting our vote, I think I can score them 100% on that point. But the other processes that still remain before the result is announced.
Joining us on the news to discuss further on this is Dr. Ambrose Igboke, an international affairs analyst. Dr. Ambrose, it's nice to have you around.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with the BVAS and IREV deployed for Nigeria's 2023 elections. Do you consider them as technological innovations that have improved the transparency, efficiency, and credibility of the electoral process in Nigeria?
The BVAS and the IREV are actually supposed to aid our election, the transparency in our election. But unfortunately, machines do not run the elections. It is human beings that run the elections. So what this has done is that the machines are supposed, or technology adoption for election matters, are supposed to, make it easier for the human beings who are managing the process to do better. So first of all, it has to be that we have a kind of mindset that we want our elections to be credible. It is then the machine will help us make it credible, or technology. So any technology we deploy now, and we as a people, our mindset is geared towards rigging the election, causing violence in the election, manipulating the process. The technologies adopted will never help us. And that is where we are as a people. Beautiful, from the card reader technology that we brought in, to the BVAS, to the IREV, we still have some problems. And let me tell you, the problems we are seeing today in this off-cycle election, we saw it in the February-March elections. We've seen it in the 1999 election. We saw it in 1973 and 1983 election. Let me show you again. We saw it in the 1960 election, 1959 election. We saw it in the regional elections of implemented election of 1964. Where we had violence all over the place. Where if we go back to history, there's a violence called Operation Wet that led to the conflagration of, in fact, led to the Civil War. So we didn't learn. And it's unfortunate that almost 60 years after Operation Wet, Western Regional Election of 1964, 59 years later, we are still talking about the same thing: violence, thuggery, box snatching, killings, kidnapping, not having freedom to move around during elections, curfew. What kind of people are we? I mean, what other countries have taken for granted? We have refused our institutions to work. We have refused technology adoption to work for us.
So Dr. Ambrose,
it is a mockery.
So, Dr. Ambrose, we know that the challenges are there, and they probably might not go immediately. So if we are to address them, you have mentioned a couple of them. If you are to address them, how should we approach it? What modifications do you think are necessary to ensure that our election cycles or our election processes are credible and are free or probably void of errors?
Well, the first thing I would recommend is that the appointment of the INEC chairman should not be from the presidency, who is obviously a party to elections. There have to be a kind of an independent structure, an arrangement that we should embed in the constitution for the appointment of the INEC chairman. and appointment of INEC commissioners across the country. So if that is done, then INEC can have more independence. The second one is party funding. We need to look critically into the issues of party funding, because the way the political parties are funded right now is about where politicians and other stakeholders actually invest their hard-earned money and see it as a personal investment which they have to reap from after the elections are won and their candidates are in government. So with that, if that continues, then of course governance should be do or die affair, because we see it as something that must we're not coming to serve the people but to serve our personal goals. And so they see it as business. Politics is business. The other thing is that we are not building institutions. Basically, we're not allowing institutions to work. So the freedom and fairness in election cycle is dependent, one, on the kind of governor that we have operating in the state, the character of the governor, the nature of his, the way he sees life, his mindset. So if we have a governor that is prone to violence, elections will be violent in the state. If we have a governor that is peace-loving, elections will be peaceful in the state. So that is a big problem. So we cannot leave our electoral atmosphere to the whims or to the character of a sitting governor. Because when we complain of the talks, where are they coming from? When we complain of security agencies being biased, where are they coming from? Somebody is probably pushing them to do all this. And then how many people have been also, we need to, another point is that we also need to start prosecuting and actually jailing election offenders, because these people go scot-free. How many of these thugs have been jailed? How many of them have faced prosecution? So if people do things and get away with it, obviously it will continue. So we need to now tie this up. And then also, we need to remove this issue of when we have election, we code it as if it is a war. How can you be declaring curfew? From an evening in the dusk of the election eve, then to the next morning. You grant business in a day. We need to do that. So technology will help us. Ghana here doesn't do that. So we are trying to copy technology from the West. We should be able to do that too. So these are some of the few points we need to put in place.
Dr. Ambrose Igboke, International Affairs Analyst, thank you so much for your summation on the news.